Alhamdulillahi Rabbi Alamin wa salatu wa salamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Have you ever looked at your life and wondered, why did Allah let my heart break exactly the way it did? Why did the doors close right when I thought they were opening? Why did the people I needed the most walk away? Sometimes the most honest questions rise from the quietest places in your chest. Those moments when the world can't hear you, but Allah can. And in those moments, Allah is already responding. Because there are ayat, verses you've heard so many times, but when life shatters in a certain way, suddenly, they aren't just verses, they are lifelines. They begin to speak to you in a language only a wounded heart understands. Allah says that He is closer to you than your jugular vein. But do you know when that becomes real? When the people closest to you fail to stand close enough. That's when you realize Allah was always there. Sometimes Allah writes difficulty not to break you, but to break the illusions you were relying on. He takes away what you thought you needed so you can finally see what you truly needed, Him. This is what Qadr teaches us, that behind every delay is a wisdom, behind every closed door is protection, and behind every heartbreak is a surgeon's hand, the divine hand healing you in ways you don't yet comprehend. But I know the human heart waits. It gets tired. It gets scared. You cry at night wondering when it will finally make sense. You ask Allah for clarity, and the silence feels heavy. You wait for an answer, and the waiting becomes its own test. This is where Sabr steps in. Not the Sabr of just be patient, not the Sabr that means don't feel anything. True Sabr, the Sabr the Prophet taught us, is the strength to stand in front of Allah with your tears and say, Ya Allah, I don't understand, but I trust you. Tawakkul is not trusting Allah after things work out. Tawakkul is trusting Allah while nothing makes sense yet. And if you think Allah isn't listening, remember, the same Lord who heard the whisper of Prophet Yunus from the darkest ocean, who answered the broken heart of Prophet Yaqub when he cried for Yusuf for years, who reassured the Prophet in the cave when fear was inches away, that same Lord hears you now. So here is your reminder, something you can carry into every morning. Every time your heart aches, let it pull you toward the Qur'an. Every time the fear rises, breathe and say, Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. Every time you feel lost, remember that Allah guides those who seek Him. Every time pain visits your chest, know that it is a guest that leaves, but Allah stays. These ayat, the ones you've read, the ones you've memorized, the ones you whisper in your sujood, they hold meanings that unfold exactly when your heart is ready. They are not just words, they are light, they are healing, they are reminders that your story is written by the most merciful. Maybe, just maybe, the very test that made you cry today is the same test that will make you fall in love with Allah tomorrow. Because the journey of the soul is not about returning to a better life. It's about returning to Allah. And every step, every tear, every prayer, every moment of patience is guiding you back to Him. Every heart carries a hidden struggle that only Allah fully knows. And this reality is more profound than we often realize. Each person you meet, each face you pass by, is living with a story that remains unseen by the world. People smile, they function, they move through their days as though everything is fine. Yet deep inside there may be a fear they cannot voice, a grief they are still trying to understand, or a prayer they repeat every night hoping it will someday be answered. What makes this so powerful is that Allah, the one who created the heart, is the only one who knows every detail of what it holds. There are moments when you feel like no one can understand what you're going through. Even if you try to explain, the words fall short. But Allah does not need an explanation. He knows the pain before it turns into tears. He knows the confusion before it forms into questions. He knows the fear before you even admit you're afraid. And because He knows you so intimately, His mercy is tailored to you in a way that no human comfort can ever match. Sometimes Allah hides your struggle from people not to isolate you, but to elevate you. He wants you to turn to Him directly, to discover a closeness that only hardship can reveal. The hiddenness of your struggle is also a protection. It prevents you from relying too heavily on people and gently guides your heart back to the one who never leaves. Every hidden wound you carry is seen by the one who heals without being asked. Every silent prayer is heard by the one who responds without delay, even when the response is unfolding in ways you do not yet see. Your heart is never truly alone because the one who knows it best is always near. Pain is often the beginning of a deeper awakening of the soul, though in the moment it feels like the world is collapsing around you. When hardship first touches you, it doesn't feel like a doorway to wisdom. It feels like loss, like confusion, like the kind of heaviness that sits on your chest and refuses to move. But in the unseen world, something transformative is happening. Pain has a way of peeling back the layers of our lives, revealing truths we were too distracted to notice before. It forces us to confront the parts of our heart that were hiding behind comfort, routine, or false certainty. When everything is easy, we rarely question the direction of our lives or the state of our relationship with Allah. Comfort numbs reflection, but pain shakes the soul awake. It makes you ask the questions you never asked when things were smooth. Why am I here? What matters? Who is Allah to me when everything I relied on has been taken away? These questions are not signs of weakness, they are signs of awakening. They are the first steps toward a deeper, more sincere connection with your Creator. Allah allows pain not to punish you, but to refine you. Just as gold must go through fire to shine, the heart must sometimes go through hardship to discover its real purity. Pain teaches humility, it softens arrogance, it brings compassion, and it turns your face toward the heavens in ways joy never could. It strips away illusions and shows you how desperately you need Allah. Not as an idea, but as your anchor, your refuge, your constant. And when the pain finally fades, you realize something extraordinary. You are not the same person you were before. You've grown in ways you could never have grown without that difficulty. The heart that breaks for Allah's sake is the heart that returns to Him stronger, clearer, and more alive than ever. Allah's plan unfolds in ways the human heart cannot yet see, and this truth becomes clearer the more we reflect on the journeys we've lived through. The human mind wants clarity, wants timelines, wants explanations, but Allah's wisdom operates beyond the boundaries of what we can understand in the moment. What feels like a delay to you might be divine preparation. What seems like a setback may actually be the first step towards something far better than what you asked for. Allah's plan is not always loud or dramatic. Sometimes it unfolds quietly, slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you look back and realize every twist, every pause, every disappointment was guiding you towards something meaningful. We judge events by how they feel, but Allah arranges them by what they will lead to. A closed door might break your heart, but Allah may have shut it because it would have led to a place your soul did not belong. A sudden detour might frustrate you, but Allah may be redirecting you toward a destination that holds more goodness than you imagined. His plan is not random. It is intricately designed with perfect knowledge of your past, your future, your weaknesses, your strengths, and the deepest needs of your heart. Often we only see the surface of a situation, the disappointment, the loss, the uncertainty, but Allah sees the entire picture. He knows what you don't know. He sees dangers you cannot see, opportunities you are not ready for yet, and blessings that require certain growth before they can enter your life. So when something doesn't go your way, it is not a sign that Allah ignored your prayer. It is a sign that He answered it with a wisdom you have not yet recognized. And when the pieces finally come together, you understand that nothing was ever random. Every moment was crafted with purpose. Every delay had meaning. Every turn was guided by the one who loves you more than you will ever comprehend. Qadr teaches us that nothing misses us except what was written for us, and nothing reaches us except what Allah, in His perfect knowledge and mercy, allowed to unfold. This truth is deeply comforting, yet it takes time for the heart to truly absorb. We live in a world where we try so hard to control outcomes, to protect ourselves from disappointment, to plan every step as if certainty is in our hands. But Qadr gently reminds us that control has never belonged to us. It belongs to the one who sees the end long before we even recognize the beginning. When you understand Qadr, you begin to look at life differently. You stop tormenting yourself over the what ifs. What if I had chosen differently? What if I had acted sooner? What if I had held on? These questions only burden the soul because they imply that your destiny was in your hands alone. But Allah already knew your path. He knew your choices, your mistakes, your heartbreaks, your moments of weakness, and He wrote your story with all of this in mind. not to harm you, but to shape you, not to break you, but to guide you closer to Him. Qadr teaches you to walk through life with a calmer heart. When something good comes your way, you accept it with gratitude, knowing it was meant for you. And when something slips away, no matter how tightly you held onto it, you learn to let go with grace, trusting that it was never written in your story. This doesn't mean the loss won't hurt. It means the hurt won't destroy you. Believing in Qadr doesn't erase pain, but it gives pain a purpose. It reminds you that Allah's plan is not flawed. What is meant for you will find you, even if it travels across the world to reach you. And what isn't meant for you will pass you by, even if it sits in your hands. In this understanding lies the deepest peace a heart can know. Tawakkul means trusting Allah even when the path feels unclear. And this level of trust is one of the most profound forms of worship a believer can experience. It is easy to trust Allah when everything is falling perfectly into place, when the results match your expectations, and when life feels steady. But true tawakkul is born in uncertainty, when the future is blurry, when the wait feels long, and when you have no idea how things will unfold. It is in these moments that the heart learns what it really means to rely on Allah, not just through words, but through surrender. Tawakkul does not mean doing nothing. It means doing your part, putting in the effort, taking the steps you can, and then handing over the outcome with complete confidence that Allah knows what is best. It means accepting that Allah's wisdom is greater than your desires, even when your desires feel overwhelming. It means believing that every delay is intentional, every hardship is measured, and every blessing arrives at precisely the right moment. There will be times when you feel like everything you hope for is slipping away. You may feel the fear of uncertainty tightening in your chest, but tawakkul teaches you to breathe through that fear and remind your heart Allah is in control. The situation is not in the hands of people, circumstances, or your own limited vision. It is in the hands of the one who has never failed you, not even once. A person with tawakkul walks through life with a lighter heart. They understand that if something is meant for them, no force on earth can keep it away. And if something is not meant for them, no amount of effort can bring it into their life. This belief frees you from the burden of trying to control every detail. Tawakkul is not just trust, it is peace. It is the quiet certainty that Allah's plan is working for you even when you cannot see it. It is the comfort of knowing that you are never walking alone and that whatever lies ahead, Allah has already prepared it with mercy, wisdom, and love. Sabr is not passive waiting. It is dignified resilience anchored in faith, and understanding this changes the entire way we experience hardship. Many people think sabr means sitting quietly, suppressing emotions, or pretending not to feel pain. But Islamic sabr is something far more powerful, more active, more alive. It is the strength of a heart that refuses to let difficulty turn it away from Allah. It is the courage to keep going, even when everything inside you feels tired. It is the decision to stay rooted in faith when fear tries to uproot you. Sabr does not mean the absence of sadness. Prophets cried, prophets grieved, prophets experienced loneliness, yet Allah praised them for their patience. This tells us that feeling deeply is not a weakness. What matters is what the heart does with those feelings. Sabr means you let your pain push you toward Allah, not away from Him. It means that even when your chest feels tight and your eyes are full of tears, you still say, Allah knows, Allah sees, Allah will carry me through this. Patience is not about time passing, it's about the heart transforming. Every hardship you endure with sabr builds something inside you. Humility, wisdom, compassion, clarity. It strengthens your spiritual muscles the same way physical resistance strengthens the body. Without pressure, there is no growth. Without spiritual struggle, there is no spiritual strength. Sabr is also an act of trust. It means believing that Allah's timing is better than your own, even when the wait feels endless. It means holding on to hope when the outcome is unknown. And it means choosing goodness, kindness, gratitude, prayer. Even while standing in the middle of a storm, true sabr is beautiful because it brings you closer to Allah. It opens doors of reward, opens pathways of relief, and opens the heart to a peace that nothing in this world can take away. It turns suffering into elevation and waiting into worship. Through sabr, the believer does not just survive hardship, they rise through it. Allah heals through moments that seem like breaking points, and This truth becomes clearer the more we reflect on the experiences that once shattered us. There are moments in life that feel unbearable, moments when the heart cracks open, when the weight of sadness is too heavy to hide, when the world seems to blur and you wonder how you will ever recover. In those moments, it feels like everything is falling apart, but often, without realizing it, those very moments are the ones that lead us to the deepest healing we will ever experience. Sometimes Allah allows your heart to break so the light can enter. Sometimes He removes what you clung to so you can cling only to Him. Sometimes He lets you feel alone so you can discover who has truly never left your side. Pain has a way of redirecting the heart, purifying intentions, and peeling off layers of attachment that were quietly weighing you down. Healing doesn't always come as a sudden relief. Sometimes it comes slowly, almost silently. It shows up in the way you begin to see things differently, in the way you stop depending on people the way you used to, in the way your dua becomes more sincere, more raw, more honest. Healing happens when your tears turn into conversations with Allah, when your losses turn into lessons, and when your fear transforms into trust. You may not notice it while it's happening. Healing often feels like more breaking before it feels like rebuilding. But Allah's healing is unlike any human healing. It reaches the deepest corners of your heart, places you don't even have words for. He heals by guiding you back to Him, by strengthening your iman, by making you more compassionate, more aware, more anchored. And one day you realize something profound. The breaking point was actually the turning point. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of a better you. The pain that once felt unbearable became the very reason your heart finally found its way back to the one who heals without being asked, and who restores the heart in ways more beautiful than before. Divine timing is always perfect, even when it feels painfully slow, and this truth is one of the most challenging yet beautiful lessons a believer can learn. As human beings, we are naturally impatient. We want answers now, clarity now, relief now. We want our du'as to be fulfilled exactly when and how we envision, but Allah, in His infinite wisdom, gives according to His timing, not ours, and His timing is never random. It is a precise expression of His knowledge, His mercy, and His understanding of what our hearts need in order to grow. Sometimes you beg Allah for something and the response seems delayed. You may feel forgotten, overlooked, or unheard. But in reality, Allah is preparing you, shaping you, and arranging the circumstances around you so that when the blessing finally arrives, you are ready to receive it in the best possible way. If it came too early, it might overwhelm you. If it came too easily, you might not value it. If it came without struggle, you might not turn to Allah the way you do now. Divine timing is not just about giving you what you asked for. It is about transforming you into the person who can handle what you asked for. It is about molding your character, strengthening your sabr, deepening your tawakkul, and cleansing your heart of attachments that would have harmed you if the blessing arrived sooner. Every delay carries wisdom, even if the heart cannot comprehend it in the moment. There are blessings that take time, because Allah is moving things around in ways you cannot see. He is protecting you from unseen harm, redirecting you from paths that would have broken you, and opening doors that align with your destiny. The heart struggles with waiting, but the soul grows because of it. And when the blessing finally arrives at the exact moment Allah decreed, you will look back and understand why every second of waiting mattered. You will see how perfectly everything unfolded, how every not yet was actually a mercy, and how the timing of Allah is always, without exception, the best timing of all. The Qur'an speaks directly to the wounded heart seeking clarity, and this is one of the greatest miracles many people overlook. It is not just a book of commands or stories from the past, it is a living conversation, a divine message that meets you exactly where you are, no matter what you're going through. When the heart is confused, when pain clouds your mind, when you feel lost or overwhelmed, the Qur'an becomes a light that cuts through the darkness in ways nothing else can. There are moments when an ayah you've heard your entire life suddenly strikes you with a meaning you never noticed before. It's not because the words changed, it's because you changed. Your heart entered a state where it was ready to receive what Allah had been telling you all along. That is how personally the Qur'an interacts with your soul. Every time your circumstances shift, the Qur'an reveals a different layer, a deeper comfort, a new guidance tailored to the place you're standing in. When the heart is wounded, human words can only help so much. People may try to comfort you, but they can't always understand what you can't put into words. The Qur'an, however, knows your pain before you can articulate it. Its verses speak to the loneliness, the fear, the heartbreak, the disappointment that lives quietly inside you. It gives you reassurance not just emotionally but spiritually. Allah reminds you that He sees you, He hears you, and He knows what weighs on your heart. The Quran teaches you how to breathe again when life feels suffocating. It teaches you how to hope when hope feels out of reach. It teaches you how to rise after falling, how to surrender without losing strength, and how to carry pain without letting it define you. It grounds you in purpose, aligns your heart with truth, and guides your steps with wisdom. And the most beautiful part is this: the Quran never leaves you unchanged. Every verse you reflect on plants something in your heart: peace, clarity, patience, or a renewed connection with Allah. It is a companion for every stage of your journey, especially the moments when your heart is searching for a way forward. Forgiveness softens the soul so it can receive Allah's mercy, and this gentle truth becomes more evident each time the heart wrestles with hurt. Holding on to pain, resentment, or betrayal may feel justified at first because the wound is real and the memory still burns. But the longer we cling to anger, the heavier the heart becomes. It begins to close, to harden, to lose its softness, and a hardened heart struggles to feel the sweetness of iman. Forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It is about freeing yourself from the chains that keep your heart from rising toward Allah. When you forgive, you are not saying that the hurt didn't matter. You are saying that your peace matters more. You are choosing to release the burden so your soul can breathe again. You are choosing to step away from bitterness, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Forgiveness is a gift you give to your own heart, allowing it to heal and make space for Allah's light. Allah loves hearts that are soft, humble, and willing to let go. When you forgive for the sake of Allah, you are aligning your heart with His mercy, and His mercy is limitless. Every act of forgiveness is a doorway to His compassion, His tranquility, and His nearness. You begin to understand that life is too short to hold on to grudges, and the journey back to Allah is too precious to waste on resentment. Forgiveness also teaches you empathy. You start to see that people hurt others because they are hurting inside themselves. You see that everyone carries struggles you know nothing about. You see that the world becomes lighter when you choose gentleness over retaliation. And when the heart softens, something beautiful happens. You feel Allah's mercy settle inside you like a calm wave. Your dua becomes more sincere. Your ibadah becomes more meaningful. Your relationships become more compassionate. And your heart returns to a state where it can truly experience peace. Through forgiveness, the heart becomes a place where Allah's love can reside, open, soft, and ready to receive His endless mercy. Remembrance of Allah brings inner peace during emotional storms, and this reality is something every believer eventually discovers, often through struggle. The heart is not designed to find rest in people, accomplishments, or worldly comforts alone. These things may offer temporary relief, but they cannot settle the soul. True tranquility comes from a place deeper than the world can reach. It comes from remembering the one who created the heart and knows exactly what it needs. When you remember Allah, you are anchoring yourself to something unchanging in a world that constantly shifts. Life can overwhelm you with uncertainty, loss, fear, or disappointment. But the moment you turn to Allah, even with a single quiet Ya Allah, the storm inside you begins to calm. Remembrance doesn't erase the difficulties, but it gives you the strength to navigate through them without losing yourself. It gives your heart a place to rest, even when everything around you feels unsettled. There are days when the mind is loud with worries and the chest feels tight with emotions you cannot explain. In those moments, Dhikr becomes a lifeline. Repeating phrases like Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, or Allahu Akbar doesn't just move your tongue, it moves the burdens off your heart. It shifts your perspective from the size of the problem to the greatness of the one who can solve it. Dhikr reminds you that you are not alone, that Allah is near, and that His mercy surrounds you even when you can't feel it. The more you remember Allah, the more your heart becomes trained to return to Him naturally. It becomes a place where fear softens, grief eases, and hope reignites. You begin to see that no storm lasts forever, and every hardship carries wisdom. Remembrance of Allah does not just soothe the heart, it transforms it, it strengthens your faith. deepens your connection with your Creator, and fills your soul with a peace that cannot be shaken by the trials of this world. Through Dhikr, the heart finds the home it has always been searching for. Hope is an act of worship, despair is a whisper of shaitan, and this truth reshapes the way a believer approaches every hardship. Hope in Allah is not a simple emotion, it is a profound expression of faith. It means believing that no matter how dark things get, Allah's mercy is greater. No matter how heavy the burden feels, Allah's help is near. No matter how impossible a situation appears, Allah can open doors that human logic cannot even imagine. To hope is to trust the one who never breaks his promise. Despair, on the other hand, is a tool shaitan uses to distance the heart from its Lord. He whispers that you are too broken, too lost, too far gone for Allah to help you. He tries to convince you that your future holds no good, that your du'as will not be answered, that your pain has no purpose. But Allah reminds us again and again that despair has no place in the heart of a believer. He tells us that His mercy encompasses all things, that He responds to the dua of the distressed, and that relief often comes from places we never expected. Hope is not naive optimism. It is the strength to hold on to faith even when the world gives you reasons to let go. It is waking up after a night of tears and still believing that Allah is with you. It is making dua with a trembling heart and trusting that Allah hears you. It is refusing to quit even when the road feels difficult. Every time you choose hope over despair, you are choosing Allah over shaitan. You are choosing faith over fear. You are choosing to see with the eyes of the soul, not the limitations of the moment. Hope brings light into darkness, opens the heart to possibilities, and invites Allah's blessings into your life. And the beautiful thing is this: the more you hope in Allah, the more your heart becomes alive. You begin to walk through challenges with a quiet confidence, knowing that Allah is guiding you. You begin to see that every hardship carries hidden mercy, and every ending can lead to a beginning. Through hope, the heart finds strength, direction, and a reason to keep moving toward Allah. The journey back to Allah begins the moment the heart turns to Him, and this turning can happen at any point, in joy, in sorrow, in confusion, or even in complete brokenness. What makes this journey so beautiful is that it does not require perfection. It does not require a spotless past or unshakable strength. It requires only sincerity, a single moment where your heart whispers, "Ya Allah, I need you." From that moment on, the entire direction of your life begins to shift. People often imagine the journey to Allah as something grand, a lifelong plan, an extraordinary transformation. But in reality, it begins quietly, in the privacy of the heart. Sometimes it starts with guilt you can't ignore anymore. Sometimes it begins with gratitude that overwhelms you. Sometimes it starts with a hardship that leaves you with no one to turn to but Him. Allah does not wait for perfect conditions. He responds to the slightest movement of your soul toward Him. The journey back to Allah is not linear. You will rise and fall, succeed and slip, feel close one day and distant the next. But every step counts. Every tear shed in prayer, every mistake followed by repentance, every whispered dua, every attempt to do better, they all build the path that leads you back to Him. Allah sees every effort, even the ones no one else notices. What makes this journey so comforting is that you are not walking alone. Allah guides, protects, and strengthens those who seek Him. He opens doors you didn't know existed, removes obstacles you never saw, and places ease where you once felt only difficulty. The moment you turn to Allah, He turns to you with mercy far greater than what you seek. And as you move closer to Him, you begin to understand something profound. The peace you've been searching for was not in the world, not in people, not in achievements. It was with Allah all along. The journey back to Him is the journey back to yourself, to your purpose, your clarity, your true home. And no matter how far you've gone, the path back begins the instant your heart decides to return. Every test carries a message and every ayah carries a cure. And understanding this truth can change the way we experience hardship. Nothing that enters your life is meaningless. Nothing you face is random. Allah, in His infinite wisdom, allows certain moments to unfold because they speak to your heart in ways comfort never could. A test is not simply an obstacle. It is a conversation between you and Allah. It is a lesson written specifically for your soul, designed to reveal something about yourself, your faith, or your path that you could not have discovered otherwise. When a trial comes, it carries a message tailor-made for your heart. Sometimes the message is humility, reminding you that you are not in control. Sometimes it is patience, teaching you to slow down and trust the timing of Allah. Sometimes it is gratitude, showing you the blessings you overlooked. Sometimes it is redirection, pulling you away from something harmful. And sometimes the message is simply about returning to Allah, remembering Him more, relying on Him more, loving Him more. But alongside every test, Allah sends an ayah, a cure hidden in His words. The Qur'an addresses every form of pain the heart can feel. If your heart is afraid, there are verses that give courage. If you feel lost, there are verses that bring clarity. If you feel wounded, there are verses that bring healing. If you feel hopeless, there are verses that bring light. Every ayah contains a layer of mercy and guidance, waiting for the moment when your heart is ready to absorb it. Tests and ayat work together. The test softens your heart, and the ayah enters that softened space with healing. The test breaks something inside you, and the ayah rebuilds it with faith. The test pushes you into sujood, and the ayah lifts you with hope. When you understand this divine relationship, you stop seeing difficulties as punishment. Instead, you see them as reminders, as invitations to reconnect with the one who loves you most. You begin to realize that Allah is not placing obstacles in your way. He is guiding you toward a stronger, wiser, more spiritually awake version of yourself. And through every test and every ayah, your heart slowly transforms, finding peace not in the absence of struggle, but in the presence of Allah.